What's going on? We're here to show you guys and discuss the essential details of probably the most revolutionary and amazing Gracie Jiu-jitsu technique of all time. It's the technique that, in our opinion, defines Gracie Jiu-jitsu, and that is none other than the triangle choke. It's so amazing because a smaller opponent can be underneath a larger attacker, defending himself or herself, and suddenly position their legs around the attacker's neck to submit and defeat the opponent from underneath. And we're here to show you guys some amazing details. Along with us today, of course, my brother Hiron and another Gracie. You guys may not have met yet, my younger brother Halen, who is here volunteering to get choked out for this technique. So, in order for the triangle to take place, most important thing is that one arm is out in between the legs of the person applying the triangle, and one arm is still what we call in the mix right here. So from here, very generally, Hiron would control the wrist, push it across his body here, hold the head, place his outside foot on the person's hip, bite across the person's neck with his top leg right here, as lateral as possible, grab a hold of his shin, and then lock the triangle up like that. Then both hands go behind the head, and while squeezing his thighs together, he's going to pull down on the head and lift the hips up all at once. Now, that's how it's done against a cooperative opponent. The problem is, once you get your legs locked up around the person's neck, with one leg over his shoulder and the other leg under, the problem is, as you begin to control this person's arm right here, a lot of times what happens is they begin to lean their body weight forward on top of you. And the problem is, when the person's upper body is driving forward, as you go to hold the head, put the foot on the hip, like this, and he starts to bite the neck. The problem is, because their weight is so far forward, Hiron's hips underneath are so far underneath his opponent that he's not going to be able to lock the triangle up very effectively behind the person's neck. So those of you out there who've ever had trouble locking the full triangle, either because you thought your legs were too thick or your partner was too big, chances are that it was difficult to lock it up because the person on top was positioned heavily forward and you didn't know what to do. So here's our best advice and the secret tip to guaranteeing the triangle lockup, or at least as much of a guarantee as you're going to get. So from here, Hiron controls the head while he's controlling the arm. He places the foot on the hip on the outside. Now the key detail here, why don't you guys rotate? Good idea. The key is not to let the person's head, look where Halen's head is right now. It's right here in Hiron's chest. When Hiron holds the hip and this leg over here, and now watch, he holds Halen in place and he walks his shoulders back. Look. So he's holding his opponent while he moved out from underneath, positioning his opponent right over his hips. And by doing that, it gives much greater reach to the biting leg, which makes it in turn much easier to lock the full triangle. So in most cases, it's not that the bottom person's legs aren't long enough. It's that they're not positioning themselves to give themselves the greatest reach for the full triangle. So from standard control, stage one, hug them in close here. A couple different ways. One of them is if the person pulls a punch back, one punch back, bring the knee inside, stage one here. Boom, grab the wrist. Go ahead. Knees up on the chest, retract and shoot your legs through. So if the person's punching, you can shoot one leg through like that. One, a little closer version, is when one punch goes back and you're able to sneak one knee inside. Hiron slides to his wrist. While holding the wrist, he pushes away and brings his leg through, right over the person's arm. So these are some basic ways of getting your legs in the triangle, what we call the triangle setup position. From here, Hiron can, of course, if there are punches being thrown, at this point, punch would be his main priority, to neutralize the punch to the face. Now eventually, the attacker realizes he can't reach with the punch, and that's when Hiron would transfer the arm across, shoving it across, holding it near his hip, hold the head, and then foot on the hip. Now the trick here is if the person is driving, you must move straight out. Now what people have seen in the past, and what I learned when I was growing up, is to twist in a rotational motion to get that lockup. The problem is that may work, but it also may not work, because even though Hiron is twisted and has angled this leg this way, he still is very deeply positioned underneath the opponent. So more valuable than a rotational twist is to walk your shoulders straight out, holding the person in place, which in turn positions the bad guy much lower, making the lockup so much easier. And then from here, just to be clear, there are 3 points of pressure. From here, you're pulling down on the head, you're lifting up with your hips, but you're also pinching your thighs together. Key detail, after Hiron walks his body out and gets Halen's hip lined up, check out most common mistake is that people place the leg over the neck, but they leave such a huge gap that blood will continue to flow. So key detail here is watch how he lifts and he bites while holding the head. Bites so tight that this is already starting to choke his opponent. Then he grabs, then he finishes the full lockup, and then goes into the head control for that final pressure. So an effective bite will ensure that there's no blood flow once the triangle is locked up. With regards to triangle, that idea of moving out from underneath is something that will make it or break it. If it's possible for you to lock your legs up, the sliding out will make it happen. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Henry Gracie here at the Gracie Jiu-jitsu Academy in Torrance, California. I'm here to talk to you guys about a new instructor certification program that will enable civilian martial arts instructors of all backgrounds to get certified to teach Gracie Combatives, the most comprehensive and condensed Gracie Jiu-jitsu program ever developed by my family. What we've realized is that although Gracie Jiu-jitsu consists of several hundreds of techniques, you only need a small percentage of these techniques to be prepared for a real street fight. As a matter of fact, we've narrowed it down to 34 techniques. These 34 techniques are what make up the Gracie Combatives program, the 34 most important and effective techniques of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. The way we measured that is we looked at the history of the fights that we've been in, the family members, and we realized that these were the techniques that were most commonly used and with the greatest success ratio and with the most effectiveness against representatives of all different styles of martial arts. The Gracie Combatives course has been taught to the U.S. Army, to the military, for over 15 years now, and since then has been widely accepted and adopted by numerous federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. And up until now, instructors from these military units and law enforcement divisions were the only people that we authorized to teach and to transfer the knowledge of this amazing course. But finally we realized that the course is so effective at preparing someone in such a short amount of time that we need to make this course available in more places and through more instructors than just the ones we've done up until now. So what it is it's a 2-week intensive instructor certification course that one would participate in, and once they complete that course they would qualify to go back to their community and share the essential Gracie Combatives techniques with their students. So if you own a martial arts school or you teach self-defense and you're at all interested in basically taking this program to your school, please check out our website. All the information is there. If you're a student at a martial arts school and you're interested in learning the 34 most important survival techniques of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, talk to your instructor, talk to your school owner, and let them know of this program because it's something too valuable not to be available at every martial arts school in the world.